days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, and there's more news because what the 49ers do, man.
It's just make news.
They just make news. Well, especially when you have running back injuries all over the place. You have to make moves to secure yourself, at least that you're going to have some available.
That's true. Look, we're not here to start no trouble. We're just here to talk about the 49ers running back room shuffle. That's what we're here for, because it is a lot. There's a lot happening.
See what you did there.
I try my best sometimes, man. Sometimes things click, and then sometimes I can't think of anything, and it's like, oh gosh, what am I doing? But look, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button right now, hit that notification bell as well. That way you're notified for all of the content and all the videos that are coming out on the channel daily at 11 a.m. and then sprinkled throughout the day, whether that's 9 a.m. face-offs on Monday. I could plug the entire lineup, but just be here and subscribe and hit the notification bell, and then I don't have to plug anymore. If we get 100% notification bell ringers on this channel, I can just talk about the Niners. I don't have to plug nothing. I'm not slapping the roof of no car. I'm not a podcast salesman. We're just having a good time, but it's fine. A lot of good things to talk about. Chris Thompson officially signed to the 49ers practice squad. I jokingly made the comment in passing, not on air to Ant.
100%.
About Chris Thompson. I was like, this is a guy who has Kyle Shanahan written all over him, but he's had so many injuries, and the Niners have really made a focus of not going after or targeting guys with injuries that I was like, I could see Chris Thompson being a guy that they would go after, but I just don't know if they'll do it. He gets brought into the practice squad. So I feel good about that, Ann.
Yeah, we were doing a little pre-show meeting before we did our running backs one, where we're kind of going through practice squads, going through free agents. And Alex says, hey, what about Chris Thompson? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. And you go, well, he's a Florida State guy. Like, oh, yeah, maybe. And then you're just not expecting it. And then they bring him in. So, good ups for you figuring that out, finding that out. We'll give you credit for that. And you know what? Chris Thompson brings a different added element. He's going to be on the practice squad, so we don't know if he's going to be elevated and playing in this game, but he's very good in the screen game. He's very good at catching the football in the backfield. He's very elusive. Somebody that fits what the 49ers like to do as far as the wide nine and also the wide run zone scheme.
Yep.
And then also, what they like to do as far as, getting the third down back out of the backfield and letting him catch the ball. So this might be a guy they're looking at as a possible Hasty replacement while Hasty's gone, a short-term answer. So we'll see what happens. But overall, I thought it was a solid move. They've definitely made sure they've tried to get out there and get backs that have different styles and different abilities. And they're going to put these guys out there in full display. And what it looks like against Green Bay is going to be interesting because we don't know how the room's going to be constituted because we don't know who's going to be healthy yet. But they are bringing in guys and making sure they have guys just in case players aren't ready to go.
Oh, no, they have to. And that's why the Chris Thompson move happens. That's why it makes sense because you don't know what Trenton Cannon's going to look like in the backfield, if he has to get carries, if he has to get touches.
I think they'd prefer if he didn't get touches and carries.
I agree. Just special teams.
Yeah.
Just returning kicks.
Which he's wonderful at.
Phenomenal at it. I mean, matter of fact, so great you should go watch the All-22 film on Patreon about it because we have a section, especially in part 2, where it's just about Trenton Cannon. Yeah. We're just looking at the things he's doing. But look, Chris Thompson, it's a good insulation pickup, just like Jaquez Patrick was the other day. They're doing a lot of things to make sure they hit the right pieces, hit types of runners so they can do different things at different points of the game and give certain looks and be able to execute certain types of run schemes in place. But knowing what this roster is going to be heading into Sunday is kind of the big deal. That's how we're going to have a better idea of who's actually going to be active, who's actually not going to be active, which guys are they still potentially going to activate from the practice squad, because Hasty and Givens are both going on to IR. They're both going to get thrown and stashed away on IR, which means at least 3 games for them, minimum. You're hoping they can come back, hopefully just after that bye week, so you get them back heading into the Colts game, so you're a little bit healthier there. But the DNPs for today, or for yesterday, Armstead, Givens, Hasty, Mitchell, and then 3 names that people are going to freak out about when they hear: Ward, Warner, and Williams. Ward, Warner, and Williams, all 3 of them did not practice. Non-injury related, just a rest day, just a maintenance day. And
Veteran day,
there you go. So Mitchell, Hasty, Givens, and Armstead and Mitchell. Armstead dealing with the adductor still, and Mitchell dealing with the shoulder. Kyle Shanahan specified it's more than a stinger.
which makes me nervous. When it was a stinger, I wasn't worried. As somebody that got stingers playing football, they're painful, but you can work through them, and eventually you'll get back out there. So that one made more sense. But now I don't know what it is, and the fact they haven't disclosed what it is making me wonder if they're playing coy because they don't want Green Bay to know that they might not have any of these running backs. They might go in there with a completely fresh room. That could be really crazy if you're talking about Kerryon Johnson and Chris Thompson and Jaquez Patrick. And Trenton Cannon, those are your running backs going into the game. You're really hoping that Elijah Mitchell is going to be ready to go. I'm hoping that he is. I think they're hopeful that he is. But this running back room could be in some trouble, I think, a little bit if they don't have this guy. It's going to be a mixed match of guys. It's going to be different. How they plan on attacking Green Bay is going to be interesting because there is opportunities to attack Green Bay's defense. But yeah, this was the first time that I took pause and was like, oh, because when it was a stinger reported, no problem, we're okay.
Cake.
Something I've experienced, something I'm okay with. And now when he said it's more than a stinger, it's worse than a stinger, made me worried because you don't know what worse means as far as what how their training staff sees it.
Yeah, AC sprain. Is it worse than that? Is it a collarbone issue? Is it is there some sort of tear somewhere in the shoulder? And that's
you would think collarbone issue to be gun.
You would think, but it could have been a dislocation, maybe some cartilage moves around or something along those lines. There's a lot of things it could be with the shoulder. Joint separation. If it's very minor, that's not something he's going to be able to play through either.
No.
So it really just comes down to what exactly it is, and that's not going to get disclosed now. It's not going to get disclosed now.
100%. And if it was something to do with the collarbone, like you talked about, he wouldn't have went back in there.
No,
as somebody that's had collarbone issues with ligaments and stuff around there tearing, it's extremely painful. Doesn't feel nice
unless he's a freak of nature and he's like basically the Hulk during games. It's a big no. Just because of the way running backs run, the beating you're going to be taking on the upper portion of your body, as well as the lower half, but definitely in the shoulder region. You lower the shoulder. You lower the shoulder to make contact. Not going to be low in the shoulder if there's issues there.
No, and then you got all this stuff with Sermon as well. Trey Sermon. Wearing the blue jersey because he's in concussion protocol, but getting limited practice. So he's trending in the right direction. Whether he'll be clear on Sunday, though, there's just no way to know. There's no way to know what his baseline, if it's going to get back to normal, if he's going to be, ready to go, because you do want to make sure you protect these guys from head injuries. And I mean, he got absolutely mollywopped and hit helmet to helmet. So I think that they have to prepare as if he's not going to play, and if he is able to play, it's kind of like a bonus.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. Trey Sermon, I don't expect to get pretty much any practice at all this week. It's going to be limited all week long. And they have to. They have to see where he's at. They have to see how he adjusts, how his body handles it, how his head handles it. Just moving around and running around is going to cause some issues, maybe some headaches and things of that nature. Is it enough to throw off his test and his baseline? Maybe. We're going to see as the week progresses. But him, Kinlaw, and Mosley were all limited today. They all had limited practice, which is a good sign. Because Mosley beginning of last week was not practicing; he was DNPing. So Mosley starting at the limited section. Same thing with Kinlaw starting at the limited section. Again, Friday will be the baseline test to see where they're at with their injuries. If they're full go at practice on Friday, really good sign. If they're still in the limited phase, I wouldn't be as worried about Kinlaw, seeing as he's had a game. If they keep him limited all week, doing only certain types of things, Mosley would be the one that's a concern. If he's still limited by Friday, I would say that's still in the doubtful range for Mosley.
If they do what they did with Kinlaw last week, and he has limited, then he has a full day of individuals, then he has a limited, I think we're okay. I think he'll play. And I'm also not worried about Armstead either sitting out because he did play with the abductor already.
And he's looking phenomenal.
Oh, he looks great. I mean, the film showed it even more. It was fun to watch because the guy is consistently putting out good pass rushes and very solid run stopping ability as well. He's playing at a very high level right now. And it's nice to watch. So I'm not really worried about that. I'm going to keep an eye on Kinlaw just to see what happens because I think he is a little up and down. But the fact that he said he felt excellent, then they had 2 days off. That's the one thing when you get into the regular season, you start having days off. That's good. They don't play until Sunday night, so he's going to have some extra time. So, I mean, keep an eye on these injuries, but I think it is trending in the right direction as far as Mosley goes as well. But if you watch the All-22 film, Josh Norman had himself one heck of a day. He looked good. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and be able to handle Devontae Adams or anything like that.
Different monster.
But he does fit the 49ers scheme, and he's been able to execute at a high level, and I thought he had himself a very promising start the season, and he's only going to get better because he's still knocking the rust off and getting in shape.
That's true. It's as the weeks progress, it's going to get better and better and better. He's going to look improved and improved and improved, which is a good thing for the 49ers because it gives Mosley some time to get back in the fold and get into shape or condition, I guess is the right way to say it, because Mosley has had some time off and hasn't had a lot of game experience this year as well. So Mosley getting back into the fold and back to full speed is going to be extremely important, and this is going to be a big test. Devontae Adams is no joke. He does some good things. Valdez-Scantling, not as much, but he has his moments as well. Randall Cobb is Randall Cobb. Robert Tonyan is Robert Tonyan. So there is a lot of weapons there for the Green Bay Packers, a lot of ways for the Green Bay Packers to attack the 49ers. Getting the secondary healthy and ready to go and closer to being where they need to be is important. It's a big deal. It's something that needs to be the case. Early in the week, we talked about Josh Norman being a guy that was listed on the injury report with an ankle. He was a full participant in practice yesterday. So nothing to really fear. Josh Norman seems like he's fine. Demo looking to build on his performance, and they're going to get a big test this week. Yeah, they are. I think they're going to have to figure out how they're going to play, and scheme this up. To make sure that you don't get Yarborough Lenore one-on-one with Devontae Adams. That is just not a matchup you're looking for. You've seen what can happen, when he goes against a speedy receiver that can beat him down the field at times. But you just don't want that for your rookie. Devontae Adams is one of those guys that he's just really hard to go against. Hey, they're caliber. Same tier receiver.
D-Hop's coming up down the road here a little bit too. So
D-Hop on the brain.
Yeah. But you know what? There is going to be a little bit of, scheme reasons for the 49ers to protect Yarborough Lenore. So ultimately what they come up with is going to be fun to watch. But I do feel comfortable with those starting guys right now. Yarborough Lenore and Norman, I'm okay with them if we have to go out there and battle, because I think this defensive line can still win the battles around the line of scrimmage. And the 49ers did another thing on the defensive line by bringing in Yarborough, bringing him back and putting him on the practice squad. So now they have him in case they need him. And so having, Yarborough, who we saw all throughout training camp have a pretty good camp, is there. And you have Givens that's, going to go on the IR, and there's going to be availability, and maybe we do see Yarborough at some point. Maybe they're bringing up an extra D lineman for this game. Possibly. And in order to make room on that practice squad for Yarborough, they had to release Jordan Matthews. So Jordan Matthews has been released. The Niners have parted ways with him. I think this is probably just a temporary thing right now, because I don't know if there's going to be a team that's going to want to bring him in and put him on a practice squad or even sign him to an active roster. So this is probably just something they're doing short term, knowing they can bring this guy back at some point. Yeah, you would think Seattle would sign him. That we play the Seattle, coming up, so sign him and then get all the intel they can get out of him and then move him down the bench. But Jordan Matthews is gone, just like Dante Johnson. You kind of expect to see him back again at some point. I actually like Jordan Matthews, and I like the adjustment that he's been making to playing, tight end. So I was hoping, but right now those three guys that are up there are playing very well. That's very true. They very are. Warner on film this last week put a lot of good stuff there on film, especially as a blocker. We know he can do stuff in the pass game. He's improved there. So, yeah, the tight ends are doing what they need to do, which means, the 49ers feel a little bit more comfortable with their tight end room and no reason to panic right now, especially with all the stuff going on at running back. Definitely need to address that. All the stuff that's happened at cornerback, definitely need to address that. Most of the injuries have been insulated to those two positions. The running back room was a position that had a lot of depth, and all the depth is now, at this point, at this exact moment in time, is at least questionable, but not trending in the right direction. And the cornerback room, which was already weak at depth, took a big hit, obviously. Mosley not being available was also not great. But Norman has helped out a lot. Kirkpatrick has helped insulate it a little bit, so that way you're not having to turn right away to a guy like Ambry Thomas, who hasn't been suited for the last couple of games and is probably going to be a healthy scratch for most of the year. I think so. Now they have Dre Kirkpatrick as well. You probably aren't going to see very much of him. Dante Johnson was contributing on special teams, so Ambry Thomas' development is just not there. So he's going to be, not playing very much. He's going to be healthy scratches, and they're going to use these other guys and roll with them. And I think we can feel comfortable with these veteran players that at least know that they can go out there and play significant snaps, and you're not going to be worried about them being in the right positions and trying to do the right things. Is their play going to be up to level all year long? I don't know. There's going to be mismatches, of course. There's certain situations that aren't in the best interest of the 49ers because of the age and the speed of some of these guys. But the 49ers so far have been successful with it. And we just beat the Philadelphia Eagles with these two guys at corner. And that makes me think that, we have an opportunity to go out there if we scheme it right and beat the Packers as well. I'm not going to get too worked up about it because Norman's a very skilled veteran player.
Mm-hmm.
He's not somebody that I think people want to see that he is cooked. Want to say he's cooked and that he's done. But that's not what I saw on film. And maybe we'll get proved wrong against Green Bay and he'll struggle. But I have a feeling that DeMeco Ryans is going to consistently put these guys in opportunities to be successful. And the fact that we have the two safeties we have always put us in opportunities where we can give help to those corners and protect our team in the back end and make sure that we have opportunities to win.
That's important. Having those opportunities to win and having a scheme that is able to do the things you need to do and attack the things you need to attack and take away the things you need to take away is important. And Green Bay, right? You know what the weapons are. You know who the big names are. There's a pretty good chance that, stopping Devontae Adams and bracketing that guy for a majority of the game is going to be the focal point of the 49ers and allowing your front to try and slow down the run game on its own with those 4 to 6 guys that they're going to utilize, especially if Green Bay decides to go 3 wide receivers instead of loading up. We have a conversation coming up this week, right? This week with Tyler Menting, in which he doesn't necessarily think that may be the way. He thinks that, there's going to be some issues there and they may load up a little bit more and really try and just isolate, one-on-one and try and set up situations where you can just go at Devontae. Will be very interesting to see what's going to happen with Know Your Opponent this week. That's going to be a fun one. Don't miss that. That's going to be on Friday. You don't want to miss it. It's a good one at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. But there's other things going on because, yes, they've made moves for Chris Thompson. Yes, they made the practice squad moves and brought in Yarborough, right? And you released Jordan Matthews. But there's also names floating around in 49ers land and running backs that 49ers fans want signed, right? They want this done now. Make it happen. Frank Gore back in the Bay. The fans want it. Kyle Shanahan addressed it.
Yeah, he did. He got asked the question about Frank Gore, and I think he gave a very solid answer. Is right now he expects those running backs that they have to come back. If they brought in Frank, they wouldn't be bringing in Frank for a couple of weeks and then cutting him or a few weeks. They have too much respect for Frank Gore and what he can do. So if that ever came a point where it arose that they needed an extra running back for the rest of the season, they would call Frank, and he knows that Frank could get ready, and Frank could be ready in a couple of weeks and would be ready to go. But that is not something that's, I think, on their mind right now. They're looking to get by until they get these guys that they have healthy. They know Jeff Wilson's coming down the horizon as well. And I think once they get, Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, Jermichael Hasty, and Jeff Wilson back together, those are the 4 guys they want to run with. So they're not really interested in bringing in Frank Gore right now. And to be honest with you, yes, Frank Gore is a very talented running back through the years, but Frank Gore is not the same Frank Gore he was. So his role and what he would be doing would be limited to running inside. And they basically went ahead and got, Jaquez that can do the same sort of thing as a bigger body back than even Frank Gore is. But I think they are showing Frank Gore a little bit of respect right here by saying, we're not just going to sign this guy and then eventually cut him. We only want to sign him if he's going to be with our roster the whole year.
And that's fair. That's more along the lines of what I think if you were going to make that move, what it should be. And for a couple of reasons. One, he's a vet. He doesn't want to have to jump around. Frank's not going to get ready to play 2 weeks and then be done for the year. That's not what he wants. The situation he wants is a situation in which, hey, you're bringing me in and I'm going to be a guy that you're going to rely on and count on the rest of the way, right? Like you're not just going to get rid of me. He's not going to sign if that's going to be the role. So Shanahan, knowing what the expectation is for Frank, paying the respect that is duly deserved and should happen for Frank Gore. I appreciate that. 49ers fans may not like it because they may just want Frank here no matter what, even if it's only for 2 weeks. Bring him back. He needs to retire a 49er. You can do that without signing him, putting his body through the ringer for a couple weeks and then disposing him, right, like he's a used towel or something. That's not what Frank Gore is. He's important to this franchise. If he's going to come back to San Francisco, it either needs to be as a 1 day to retire or it needs to be to roll it out the rest of the season. As of right now, we don't need it to roll out the rest of the season. We just got to survive. We just got to get through this running back shuffle situation that we're currently in, get us to that bye week, and then hopefully get Jeff Wilson back, get Jermichael Hasty back, right? And then hopefully Sermon's good to go and Mitchell's recovered, and you go from questions and concerns about depth to having four of the 5 guys that you thought you were going to have going into the season.
Yeah, you feel comfortable with that running back group. And it's nothing against Frank. Frank's a good guy. Frank's a good player, and he's been an absolute Hall of Famer his entire career. Mm-hmm. And I love the way he ran the ball. But this stage in his career, he doesn't fit the running style that the 49ers want to implement and want to go through. So I don't think he's a answer right now. But they definitely have guys that on this roster that once they're healthy, they'll be able to operate at a high level. It's all about getting through to past the bye week when you get everyone back. Once they do, and they have Hasty and they have Wilson Jr. back. This running back room will feel comfortable and good again, but we got to get there. They got to bridge the gap. And can the 49ers put this mismatched running back group to, is it good enough? Can you put these guys out there and still win football games? Can they still produce? We're going to find out if Kyle Shanahan's offense is really that good, the running game is really that good, and you can plug and play, or if you do need somewhat of a good time, a big time running back to be able to play in it,
or at least a proven running back, right? Someone who has enough and done enough that you feel comfortable with putting them back.
Elijah Mitchell wasn't proven.
Well, that's true. Elijah Mitchell wasn't proven, but he proved it in that first game.
Yeah,
and you still had JaMychal Hasty, who you'd seen something from also in that game. So you could have gone that direction as well, and they went with Mitchell, and Mitchell showed out and did what he needed to do. Here's the big thing, though. Kyle Shanahan has showed at other places, right? Other places and other running games in past years have done this. He's been able to plug and play these no-name, random, who is this dude and where did he come from guys. And some of those guys save fantasy seasons for some people, and some of them, ruin fantasy seasons for other. And I just had to bring it in there. I love the reaction. But look, it's one of those things where we really haven't had that first couple years of Kyle Shanahan, when we had Alfred Morris in there was some maneuvering going around, but that was a bad team. You didn't expect a whole lot from this offense. The talent was, just still being built up. This team didn't have an identity yet. You figured at some point the run game would be important, but I didn't think that it would ever become this level of important with this run game. Like how important it is to San Francisco for the offense to have success and do the things that they want to do, and how much it opens Shanahan's playbook. That being said, it's getting tested now. It truly is. This is everything that happens from here on out with this run game from now until Jeff Wilson's return is really going to solidify Kyle Shanahan's ability and that's honestly his play calling legacy and what it means to be a running back in Kyle Shanahan's system. If you're a running back in the league who hasn't been doing much, or you've had some good years and fallen off a little bit, Kyle Shanahan can revitalize your career, and he could potentially take a bunch of no names and basically, right? It's this running back room now is held together by super glue, gum, some paper clips, maybe a couple of staples. They are really stretching as far as they can to hold this room together.
You know what they are? They're hungry. They're a hungry room. These guys want it. These guys are going to go out there and try to prove it. And you know what? Most of the guys they brought in, they've been drafted. So Kyle Shanahan's actually operating with more talent than he normally does. So see what happens when you can spin it the right way. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing what some of these other guys do. I think there are interesting signings that they made, like Jacques Patrick, for instance. I'm just interested to see what they do with him because we haven't got to see a running back of this size in Kyle Shanahan's system.
True.
You always wondered, you got to see LeGarrette Blount and Chip Kelly's system, so you have an idea of what a big running back can do in a zone scheme. And he did it some at Florida State as well. So it's interesting to see. You got guys that understand football, that understand schemes, that have played in schemes that are similar to Kyle Shanahan, so it's an easy transition. How much can they, make it up? How much can they, produce against Green Bay is going to be a big question. But I'm excited to see what they can do. And knowing the way that teams have been playing with this 52 look that they've been playing against, there's two things that have been working against it. That's the sweep and getting to the outside, and then also a vertical run game up the middle. So adding a big bruising back for up the middle runs and vertical runs makes sense. And then adding somebody like Thompson who can get outside on the edge and produce that way. So they're doing a good job of making sure they're insulating themselves and coming up with guys, and all the while loving that it's a Florida State connection. Make no surprise that there's freaking 2 Florida State running backs that have joined this roster, because we do it big at Florida State, except in the win column lately.
It's okay.
It's not.
It's okay, Ant.
No,
it'll be okay.
It's really not.
It'll be just fine.
Norvell, no.
Look. The Florida State connection is real. It's the Florida State running back situation that is happening right now with the 49ers roster is pretty incredible to watch. There's also a big Stanford connection with Lynch and the fact that they targeted. We're pretty sure they're targeting Walker Little, and know for a fact that they were targeting Paulson Adebo in the draft. So they definitely have their eyes on certain types of players throughout the league, which is good to keep in mind. It's definitely something you need to think about. But let's shift gears from the running back room shuffle, Ant, to more Brandon Aiyuk discussions because the man can't stay out of the news. 49ers fans kerfuffled, confused Packers fans wondering what the heck's going on. The NFL, everyone is wondering what is happening. Well, guess what? Jimmy Garoppolo is here to shed some light on the Brandon Aiyuk situation. And Ant, he says there's nothing to worry about. Deebo Samuel leads the league in receiving yards and touches. Actually, it's not touches, but receiving yards. 282 yards on just 15 touches. That's a lot of receiving yards on not a lot of receptions. 18.8 yards per catch is absolutely phenomenal. But when asked about Aiyuk, Garoppolo said he honestly does a great job every day in practice. He brings it, right attitude, right mindset. It's just honestly a matter of time. He also went on to later clarify and say, I know there's a lot of panic and things like that in the air, but if you were at practice every day consistently, you saw what he can do. It's really just one of those things where 1 week it's this guy's game, next week it's another. That's just kind of how this offense goes, but I think it truly is just a matter of time. Jimmy Garoppolo basically saying he doesn't think there's a whole lot much to this. Aiyuk does the things he needs to do. Watching the All-22 film, I know there are some situations where Aiyuk doesn't win in single coverage, but there's a lot of time where he's drawing bracket coverage, him and George Kittle, which is freeing up Deebo Samuel a lot of the times. And when Deebo is getting freed up and singled up in space, Deebo is winning those opportunities in those matchups. I think Kyle Shanahan is totally fine with Aiyuk drawing bracket coverage and leaving Deebo there to operate in single coverage.
Yeah, so what happened was there was a call out of Brandon Aiyuk. Maybe he was complacent. Maybe he wasn't getting it done.
Okay.
Wasn't reaching the expectations, so they kind of put him out on the doghouse for a minute to let him, think about what the decisions that he'd made. And now he's moseying back over into the house. And now Jimmy Garoppolo is standing there being like, there's nothing to see here. No, everything is fine. Because
he's been at the table the whole time.
He's a good boy. He's learned his lessons. That basically what's going on now is you're right. We expected for Brandon Aiyuk to have a bounce back game against the Eagles. You know who else expected that? The Eagles. So when the Eagles came out there, they made a concerted effort to make sure that somebody else beat them. They had to be Deebo Samuel. It had to be one of these other guys because they weren't going to let George Kittle beat them because George Kittle's had big games against them in the past. So they did a good job of making sure that when they had Brandon Aiyuk singled up, he was on Darius Slay. So they were making sure they had a focused effort on him and a focused effort on George Kittle. And then they wanted to force the other wide receivers and other players on the 49ers to beat them, and Deebo Samuel did just that. The reason that they're all saying this is just a matter of time because at some point, a team is going to realize I can't let Deebo Samuel keep annihilating my defense, and they're going to do things to try to take Deebo away. And when they do, that's going to free up opportunities for Brandon Aiyuk or George Kittle. It's a pick your poison situation, so the 49ers just got to do it. But yeah, that's what happened. First off, they made a little thing, wanted to get him on the right track, and now it's all about nothing to see here, nothing going on, because Deebo's a good boy and he's going to make plays.
You mean Aiyuk, but no, Aiyuk.
Oh well, Deebo is a good boy.
Deebo is. I mean, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Aiyuk said as much essentially as well. Yeah. I've already started to understand in this league that it's really never just a steady path to the top. Aiyuk said last week, you're going to have high moments, low moments. It's all about how you refocus, how you're rebalancing it back on track afterwards. So yeah. Definitely some sort of mindset not being where it was supposed to be, not doing the things that he needed to do on or off the field, obviously. It could have been just film room for all we know. I mean, it could be a variety of ways that he wasn't doing what Shanahan wanted to see from him. Put him out there. Hey, get used to the yard, get comfortable. You're not sitting at the big boy table. Okay, the big catch on Darius Slay on a third down.
Want him on that house, do you?
I'm not going to say he was on the doghouse. No, there's no proof that he was on the doghouse. If I take Kyle Shanahan at his word for everything, and Kyle Shanahan's saying he's not in the doghouse.
I didn't say he was in the doghouse.
I know you said he was on the doghouse, but Kyle Shanahan's very specific about his words, and he didn't specifically say you are very specific about your words. Look, the reality situation is no matter how we spin this and how we view it, Aiyuk definitely wasn't in the house with the team. He wasn't at the table with the big boys. He's slowly working his way back. And after watching that Eagles film and watching how many different times when Aiyuk's on the field, because there's times where he's off, and as soon as he comes on, it is all eyes on him and Kittle. They've got bracket coverage. They got two guys on each there. You two aren't going to do nothing. Have fun, Deebo. You better get it done, my guy. Last week possibly was a fluke. At some point in time, though, you're right. Someone is going to take that off. Someone's going to take that pressure off. They're going to put that bracket coverage over on Deebo. They're going to put that bracket coverage on Kittle. And who knows? You might be a team who's bold enough to take away Deebo and Aiyuk and try and let Kittle feast. That is always a possibility. The good news is that teams in the NFL are respecting at least two of our players enough to want to bracket both of them. take 4 guys to account for 2, which now makes everyone else's job in this offense significantly easier.
Yeah, there's one time in the red zone, and it's Mohamed Sanu's pass interference. We go over this in our Patreon breakdown. You literally they put Brandon Aiyuk and George Kittle to the top of the screen, and they get covered by 4 guys. And then down at the bottom of the screen, you got Deebo Samuel and Mohamed Sanu one-on-one. Jimmy Garoppolo recognizes this right away, and he sees that he has an opportunity to go over the top to Sanu, where Sanu can use his big athletic body to make a catch, and there's a pass interference. Maddox just grabs onto him, doesn't allow it to happen. But yeah, they made a thought process that Nelson was going to be able to cover Deebo, and they were going to take their chances with the other receiver.
Wrong.
Yeah, it didn't work out because Deebo's having himself big games, and Jimmy Garoppolo is able to get him the ball. And there's been opportunities to Trent Sherfield and those guys as well. So, yeah, if you want to try to take away Brandon Aiyuk and George Kittle, there's going to be opportunities for other players, but it is inevitable. Everything that happened with Brandon Aiyuk is behind them. They've moved on. Brandon Aiyuk is definitely on the right track. He's going to be making plays. I think we can kind of get past this now. I think they're ready to get past this. Jimmy Garoppolo signaled it with, there's nothing to see here. They're all past and they're ready to go.
You heard it from Ant. He's giving fantasy advice. Start Brandon Aiyuk this week in fantasy. Don't do it.
I didn't say that.
Don't do it. I may have put words in his mouth just now.
If I was going to give you advice for fantasy, I would say start Trenton Cannon.
That's actually that's bold. It's bold, my God. That is.
I don't play fantasy, so why would you listen to me?
Don't listen to Ant when it comes to fantasy. It's not his forte. It's not his skill set. Everything else, definitely can rely on this man over here, my compatriot over there. He's on top. He's fantastic. Look though, it's just I'm glad that we can start moving away from the Brandon Aiyuk stuff. Focus on more important things with this 49ers team. It's good. It's a good thing. Feels refreshing. Feel a little light. Feel a little free. Don't have to worry about Brandon no more. Get to focus on what we're gonna do.
Blems.
No, I don't. Just you and your blems. You and your freaking blems. And I swear, you missed before when we were reading some of these comments, and Ant just said that's a blem. Yeah, that's a blem too. You know what? I'm gonna take your blems and I'll raise you. I'll go all in on the blems, Ant. All in on the blems, and none of them were blems.
Well, I didn't think they were blems. I was just messing with you. Throwing those out that they were blems. It's just become kind of fun.
Everyone likes poking old Alex over here.
Only when it comes to blems.
Giving me the business there. All right, it is what it is. Look, let us know what you thought about today's topics down below. The Chris Thompson signing. Do you like it? The player status updates. You concerned? You feeling good? Comfortable where guys are at? The running back room shuffle? Are you getting nervous for Sunday? I don't blame you if you are, but maybe we put you at ease a little bit. Let us know down in the comment section below right now. And while you're down there commenting away, don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. That way, you're notified for all the videos. You're subscribed. You're ready to go for everything we got coming your way, including, Ant, part 2 of the Patreon, which should have already gone up, but if it hasn't already, you can be one of the first people over there to watch part 2, that second half of the All-22 film versus the Eagles.
It is absolutely jam-packed 2 days that are coming up. You're going to have... Starting after this video, you're going to have also the game preview show and then a live stream coming after that at 4:30. So you're going to make sure you want to catch all those things. Plus, on Friday, it is not going to be for the faint of heart because you're going to get the Madden simulation at 9. At 11, you get the daily video where we're going to go through everything that is 49ers. And then at 2 o'clock, you get Jay in the Bay. So you're going to get the what's good with Jay in the Bay, and he's going to be going over his 5 big things the 49ers need to do. And he had a lot of those correct against Philly, so you want to make sure you're over there. Jay's a good guy. And then later that night, 5:30, you got Tyler Menting and from Football Unlocked for Know Your Opponent. He's a huge Green Bay fan. Great conversations always with him. So there's just so much content that you can get into. That is not to mention that I forgot to mention that over on Patreon on Thursday, you can also get a 49ers Cutback in Time, where we're going back in time to relive another 49ers great moment.
Those are always fun, man. I always like the time-traveling adventures and shenanigans that we're on. It's a good time over on Patreon. A lot of additional stuff over there that you're not going to get on YouTube. So if you want that, you want looks back into the past, you want film breakdowns, you want Madden gameplay, you want fantasy gameplay, make sure you hop over there. Plenty of ways for you to interact, plenty of ways for you to engage. You even just go to the Cutback shop and get some sweet Cutback crew gear, some nice 49ers Cutback merch. But man, Ant, it's a good week. It's a fun week. It's a nerve-wracking week. And it's only Thursday. We still got time. So many things can still happen. Hopefully, they're all good things.
Yeah, nothing but good things are coming, and we're going to be building towards this. I'm looking forward to seeing what Kyle Shanahan decides with some of his decisions, so we can figure out what his game plan is going to be going against Green Bay on Sunday night.
Absolutely excited for it. Can't wait for it. Cutback crew, we love y'all. We cannot thank you enough for all the support. And until the next one, stay safe.
Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.